Hi, welcome back to the Weekly Why. This week we're making our way through the book of Exodus. We have Parsha Mishpatim. So this Parsha really has a lot of heavy emphasis on kind of civil law, civil code. And as part of this, it's really laws of the relationship between man and man. Not so much between man and God, but really the focus is between, different individuals in a society. And one of the different laws, interesting laws that we find here is in chapter 21, verse 33. It's the laws of bore. It's a pit or an obstruction in the ground. And so here is it basically if a person digs a hole in the ground and then they leave it uncovered and somebody falls into that hole or that pit, that person who has dug the hole is culpable. Similarly, if for example there was a sewer or some sort of a manhole and you were the one, you didn't dig it, but you simply removed the covering or the top for it, and somebody fell in, you would be held culpable for it. So this halacha of bor isn't really, again, for if we really stop and think about it, it's not. It certainly does pertain to that, but not really just about holes in the ground. Really, it's about the broader responsibility of really trying to stop and think about how our actions impact others. So what that means is to say it's not really just about the hole in the ground. It's about to say, okay, well, you know what? I didn't necessarily dig the hole in the ground. I just removed the cover. And you know what? I didn't mean to make anybody fall on the ground, but if somebody did, I'm still culpable. So this is really very much part of the whole Jewish idea and the Torah idea of imbuing a certain sensitivity in us to not just take responsibility and review about what's happening in a particular moment, but to try to really take a step back and extrapolate and say, okay, if I do A, what's going to happen? What are the consequences of that, and how is that going to impact other people? So one of the greatest examples of this is from the Chofetz Chaim. And so what he did was a story of him. He was a sage who lived in Eastern Europe a couple hundred years ago. And what happened was he was walking through a town and he saw a piece of paper on the ground. He thought it was a piece of Torah, so he was, obviously can't just leave a scrap of that lying on the ground, so he bent down to pick it up. And just as he noticed it wasn't Torah, he kind of put his arm back up to not pick it up, and he continued walking. And then as he stopped and he turned around and he went back and he picked it up anyway, even realizing it wasn't Torah. So the whole idea, what he was doing and what he explained to his students who were walking with him, is what the Chofetz Chaim said is that it's true that this wasn't a Torah, piece of scrap paper that was on the ground, but really that he was much of the same philosophy as this issue of bor about, preventing people from falling in, is that he was preventing people from, let's say, not only just witnessing the litter, but about having to themselves exert the energy of even picking up a piece of litter. So the lesson for us is to say, okay, in every day in our lives, when we're going through our day-to-day activities, is to stop and think, how are my actions that I'm doing now going to negatively impact somebody else? Is this going to cause more work for somebody else, more stress for somebody else, more difficulty and problems? And if so, how can I best go about trying to eliminate that? And so I think, once again, the issue here, the halacha of bor, is about the culpability of having somebody else fall into a hole that I've uncovered or built myself. Is that it's not just about me building that hole, it's about if I'm responsible for uncovering it, then I'm culpable, I'm responsible for someone else who has fallen in. So again, this is very much integral, and this is very much fitting in with everything we've learned so far in the Weekly Why, that the Torah is very, very integral and really, really hits us again and again in terms of the Jewish idea of sensitivity, and that the Jewish idea of taking responsibility for other people and for ourselves doesn't just mean in that moment, but it means try to stop and think all the time how our actions at any given moment can have a negative impact on somebody else, even if we don't necessarily mean that to do so. So that's it for Parsha Mishpatim. Best wishes, Shabbat Shalom, and God bless.